Hello and welcome to episode 86 of Dunk's Movie Corner, or Dunk's Movie Corner pod or podcast. That's what this is. That's who I am. If you're new, this is a quick recap of what I watch in a week. If that's TV, limited series, movies, whatever. And as I usually say, this is a companion podcast to the Movie Bros, which is a weekly conversation between myself and my brother Hayden, where we pick one movie, watch that movie, discuss, ramble, banter, argue, debate, dissect, all the things you could think of about one specific movie. So if you're looking for something a little more meat on the bones, check that out. Those come out every Sunday. This usually comes out every Tuesday. And if there's anything that I referenced you like, don't like, have recommendations on things I should or shouldn't be watching, both podcasts are available on Spotify where there's comment sections. Both podcasts are available on YouTube where there's comment sections, and both podcasts are available on Instagram where there are direct messages and comment sections. So either way, if you want to reach out, reach out. And as I usually say, sometimes these episodes are like 20 minutes, sometimes they're 10 minutes, sometimes they're 5 minutes. It just kind of depends on my week. And this was one of those weeks where I've been busy. I finally did the last bit of moving from one apartment to another, and work has gotten quite busy. It is opening week, or was opening week of Project Hail Mary, because one of my jobs that I work at is a kind of bougie movie theater, bar, restaurant thing. Either way, so there's not going to be a lot to talk about this week. So without further ado, I believe last week I talked lastly about, let's see, I think the last thing I talked about was Hamnet, the Chloe Zhao, Paul Mescal, and Academy Award winner, what's her name? Jessie Buckley, excuse me. Which, obviously, listen to last week's episode. I think, again, the Oscars nods were understood. It's just I don't think I'm the target audience. So this week, either way, I'm starting with the 2021 The Green Knight. This was actually our most recent episode on the Movie Bros, which was just posted a couple days ago, so this last Sunday. So if you want to hear an actual, 30 to 45 minute conversation about that, check that out. Spoilers, I like it. It's good. It's very pretty to look at. Some of the story, I don't know, works super well. Again, I would give it a very, very solid 4 to 4.5 out of 5. That was my third time watching it. Just aesthetically, just every shot stunning to look at. It's when you put this next to so many things that like Netflix produces movie wise, I'm like, oh, this is art, and that is not. So it is available, surprisingly, on Netflix. They have got the rights, at least for now. So if you're curious, I'd say check that out. It's definitely worth a watch if you like a kind of medieval tale of a knight of the Round Table, King Arthur's Round Table. Yeah, I don't know if you'd want to. I mean, it's not inherently uncomfortable. If you wanted to watch it with like your parents or something like that, there's one or two scenes where I'm like, I don't know if I'd really want to do this. But yeah, Green Knight. Dev Patel is the lead. Who around this time he also released a Monkey Man, which he starred, and it was a directorial debut. I thought it was very good. So I'm curious kind of to see where he goes. From there, I watched Hoodwinked 2, TOO, Hood versus Evil. If you remember last week, I talked about Hoodwinked, the first one. And this is where it's about almost a decade later. The animation has gotten so much better, but the trade-off is it's lost its allure of being this new kind of quirky, weird, like cult classic, almost kind of hidden gem thing. Because now Shrek's been out for a while, so all the Fairytale things are not that interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I watched it. And again, this took so long to actually be available anywhere. It's this and the original one, like I said last week, have been on my watch list forever because I like vaguely remember watching them in the early 2000s. Either way, Tubi, the like free with ad streaming service, has a bunch of random stuff on there. So shout out to them for acquiring this. Yeah, if you're curious, the original, the Hoodwinked one, where it's from like 2005, which is Anne Hathaway. It's Glenn Close, Patrick Warburton, Jim Belushi. I mean, I talked about this last week, but that one's a little more weird to look at, but I think it's a more fun movie. So yeah, that's Hoodwinked 2. And then on Sunday, I rewatched F1, the, again, Academy Award winning now, which is kind of crazy to think of, for sound, which I think it won the right category. It was nominated for Best Picture, which is crazy to me. But yeah, it sounds amazing. As someone who is a fairly passionate fan of Formula One, who got into it in the last probably 6 to 8 years, it's great. It's interesting. I think what they did, as much filming that they did at real races, made this feel real. However, watching this at home, even on like it was a good TV with really nice color, fairly good surround sound in like their home, like my parents' house, I've got the nice speaker set up. It still, I don't know, it felt like it wasn't doing the movie justice. It really did feel like, oh, this kind of was only, I mean, to actually have this movie perform the way you want it to perform, you almost have to watch it in a theater with good sound. So take that as you will. We just had a copy of it. I believe you can rent or buy it. I think it might be an Apple TV dealio, so I'd say check that out if you have that kind of service. I do not. And that's kind of all the movies that I've seen this week. I have been slowly getting through a limited series which is called 11/22/63, which is it's a limited series. I think there's 8 episodes, 10 episodes, not that many. Each episode is around 45 minutes. It is about it's based off a Stephen King novel where a English teacher from like 2015 gets sent back in time to potentially stop the Kennedy assassination. It's interesting. I like the time period. There's enough kind of quirky, not quirky, but like kind of unsettling thriller time travel stuff. Plus, like, is because the big, the mystery surrounding who actually shot Kennedy is also part of it. So the trade off is it stars James Franco, which at the time, I was like, oh, I like him at the time. But obviously, things change, or you realize someone might be kind of a piece of shit just in his social life. So there's that to kind of balance. Either way, it's on Netflix. I googled, and real quick, it is. I believe it is 8 episodes. So I think I'm on episode 5 or 6 at this point, and yeah, it's good. I will log it and actually log it on Letterboxd so I can kind of keep track of it probably this coming week, and I'll tell you about the ending on the next episode. Otherwise, usually the second half or the second, third, or quarter of this podcast is usually just a quick update life-wise for me. Like I said, yeah, work's real busy. I just finished another quarter of school, so I've got about 2.5 weeks off until the capstone quarter of this certificate program I'm working through starts. So that'll be another 2.5, 3 months every week. So it's nice to have a little break. And what's today? Tuesday. So yesterday was the last, like I said, big move into the new apartment. So all the furniture, all the art, all the clothing, all the whatever is in. And I slept here last night, and it was interesting. So part of the time when you're moving into a spot, they a lot of time ask for previous addresses, so you have like rental experience, I guess. And when I write it all down, I'm like, oh, I've moved. I think this is 7 times in the last 9 years. So yes, it'd be nice for things to be like, oh, this is a spot where I can really settle and nest. That's why I think a lot of times when I go to other people's uh, houses or apartments or whatever, they feel more lived in, more like homey, because, well, they've also been there longer than I have. And obviously there are touches here and there that I try to make my space feel like my space. But, I look back, I'm like, oh, there is, my job changed, or the housing market changed, or I was living with roommates, or if I wasn't living with roommates. So there are reasons why I've moved, but it would be nice if I didn't have to do this every year. And yes, it's both a pain and stressful when it happens, but it's also kind of exciting because every time I move not, right down this. Again, the spot I'm in is fairly close to where I already lived, but I'm also kind of discovering more and more of different parts of the city, which is kind of cool. So when people say either they like or dislike Seattle, usually that's not where they have. There's a lot of Seattle to explore and live in, and either like or dislike. So I think it's kind of a blanket statement because, yeah, there are parts of Seattle that I've both either lived in or explored or whatever. They're like, oh, I either really don't like this part or I do really like this part. So that's something. What else? Let's see. The pottery wheel is set up. I've got all the scuba stuff laid out. I'm hopefully trying to figure out where all the art's gonna go, where the bookcases, board games, whatever, record player, all that jazz. So yeah, that'll be probably the next day or two of just kind of getting things more and more set up. And then I've got the whole next week to kind of pop over to the previous apartment to clean. It is completely empty now, but I figure, hey, the sooner I get out, the sooner I can just do a quick once over, and I don't want to be, because the whole point is trying to get as much of your security deposit back as you can. I'm not trying to do this, the day before they're going to go in and do a final walkthrough to see how much money they're actually going to give me. But yeah, so that's kind of where that's at. What else? I think this is the longest I've been dry, not diving in a bit, just with everything else life going wise. And I don't know. Yeah, I feel like granted, I'm sure it's only been like, I don't know, 9 days or something like that. But yeah, I miss the water. I need to go touch the sea soon. Freddie, my dog, is getting used to the new space. And yeah, that's kind of it. Hopefully, once everything's settled, I like to have people over. And, well, that's kind of all that I can think of that's happened here. Those are the things that I watched or watching, technically, since the limited series is not over yet. This week on the Movie Bros, since last week we watched and talked about The Green Knight, which is kind of a heavier medieval tale. This week we are watching, which I need to watch sometime between today and tomorrow night, whatever, and talking about Bullet Train, I think it was like 2018, 2017, something like that. The Brad Pitt, very fun, light, action comedy based on a bullet train in Japan. It's fun. I don't think it's amazing. Like, it's not a drama. It's not meant to be a drama. This is kind of a escapism kind of movie. So that's what we're talking about. So I'd say check for that this coming Sunday. And yeah, thanks for hanging in there for the full 15-ish minutes or whatever. If you do, if you don't, well, at least you hit play at some point. And I'll talk to, at, or with you all next week.